you get ready to purchase a home? Hi, this is Rosa Hernandez with eXp Realty in Arizona, and today I'd like to talk about how to get ready to purchase a home. I would say that the best time to start looking for a home is when you're not having to move. This way you're not in a rush and you don't have to compromise with any property that is out there. You want to make sure that you give yourself the time to look. The next thing you want to do is to find a great realtor and a lender that understands you. One that is communicative and can guide you every step of the way. One that wants to help you. Why do I say this? Well, I say this because a lot of the times people need to clean up their credit and it may take longer than you had anticipated to secure a loan. Sometimes you'll need to talk to the credit card company and make payment arrangements, and you may also have to talk to the credit bureaus and clear up any misunderstandings or simply update them on the facts. You should actually start looking for a home 2 to 3 months before you have to move, because it takes time and work and effort in order for you to secure the loan. So now that you have a pre-approval letter, we can go and identify a home for you. It's important to note that at this point, you should be very careful with your debt to income ratio. You definitely don't want to do any changes in your spending habits at this point, because that action alone may disqualify you for the loan. Another thing to know is that every penny that will be used in this transaction needs to have a paper trail. So therefore, if you have money saved elsewhere and you plan to use it for this transaction, it must be deposited to your bank, and there needs to be a paper trail of where it came from. Because if all of a sudden you come up with an amount in your bank account, it may raise a flag with your lender. They basically want to make sure that this is not a debt and it does not need to be repaid. So if you are gifted any money, there needs to be a paper trail saying that this is not a loan and it is indeed a gift and no repayment is required. So again, the first thing you want to do is qualify for a loan. Have all your ducks in a row. First of all, this means that you actually have ran your credit. You know exactly where you stand, and you have identified the proper loan for you. You have saved money for your down payment and closing costs, and it's a little hard to actually give you an amount to have ready, because that all depends on the property that you choose and the property's history. So once you have your credit in order and the lender is able to provide us with a pre-qualification letter, at this point is when we will know how much purchasing power you have. Moving on to the main goal, identify a home. Do you want a single story, a 2-story home, single residence, a townhome? Does it need to have 3 or 4 bedrooms? Does it need a garage? Do you want a yard? Does the year it was made matter to you? Where do you want to live? What city? But the most important thing to know is, can you afford this home? I'd say get the best property for your money. And if you cannot afford a single home at this time, just get a townhome, because at least you won't be struggling to pay the mortgage, and that money goes straight to your piggy bank and not a landlord's. You can then use the townhome as a rental and have it create an income for you. So later down the road, you can use the townhome as a rental and have it create income for you, or refinance the townhome and use that money you've saved towards a down payment towards a new primary home that you've always wanted. The most important thing for you to remember is get what you're able to afford. Do a little compromising. In my opinion, it's always better to own than to rent and give your hard-earned money to a landlord, making them rich. So you have to understand that the housing market is cyclical, which means that it's ever changing. So yes, there will be times where your home may be overinflated in its value, and there may be times where your home may lose value. But what does that really matter? As long as you can afford the roof over your head. Um, don't follow the crowd. Take California for example. I wish I owned a beachfront property, but I can't afford one. But imagine all those years ago, the owners of some of those properties must have had to make the same decisions as you're having to face now. So, however, imagine if we could just turn back time, but we can't. So, decide today because yesterday has already passed us by. I hope you decide well. Thank you for your time. There are a few takeaways I'd like you to take with you after watching this video. Number one is check your credit to clear the way to get your loan. Number two, you should actually start looking for a home 2 to 3 months before you have to move, because it takes time to do all that is required in order for you to secure a loan. Number three, money must be deposited to your bank and there needs to be a paper trail of where it came from. Number four, have all of your ducks in a row. First of all, this means that you will have ran your credit. You know exactly where you stand. You have identified the proper loan for you. Save money for your down payment and closing cost. Number seven, once you have ran your credit and you have it in order, the lender can provide us with a pre-qualification letter, which will let us know how much purchasing power you have. The most important thing to keep in mind is what can you afford? I'd say get the best property for your money. And if you cannot afford a single home right now, get the townhome because at least you won't be struggling to pay for the mortgage and that money goes straight to your piggy banks and not the landlord's. Don't forget to think about growing your net worth. Number 11, stick with what you are able to afford. Do a little compromising. In my opinion, it's always better to own than to rent and give your hard-earned money to a landlord. Number 12, the housing market is a cyclical, which means it's ever changing. There will be times when your property will have an overinflated value and times when it will lose some value. But who cares as long as you can afford a roof over your head and a place to call your own. Just wait for the right time for you to sell or refinance this home when it makes sense to you. And that wraps it up for us. Thank you so much for your time. Please don't forget to subscribe and give it a like and pass this along to your friends. Thank you so much.
So, whose playbank is this? Yours or your landlord's?